Hello there. It's been quite some time. I think my last video I put up was a cover. A lot's been going on recently. I have not really been posting a lot because I got into grad school. I was taking care of a lot of that stuff. Had my first semester, finished it a little bit ago. Got let go of a job. Um, have a new job now. Just a lot going on this year. And yeah, we're at the end of 2024, but I never got to talk about 2023. Yes, I know it's kind of crazy to talk about right now, but I decided I want to get this out of the way. I made a lot of videos that I haven't posted yet because I was trying to get everything else done. So um, I'm just going to rattle off some of my favorite albums over the next hour or so, um, and just talk a little bit real quick about it. Um, a lot has changed over the last year for sure, and it'd be interesting to talk about these in that light. I might actually start doing this more often if I get the time to do all this stuff. To when I talk about like that year's music, to look back the year before to see how things have changed and if I still like some albums, the cultural viability of some of these albums. Um, yeah, so just wanted to get this out of the way. So I'm going to do this later on, either today or tomorrow. I'm going to drop the videos that I have already put on YouTube. I just kept them private until I was able to get the rest of the stuff done, but I clearly didn't get the rest of the stuff done. So here we are. This one is going to be albums 100 to 11, and then the other videos are going to be with my brother, 10 to 1. And then the game plan is hopefully I'll be able to work on and get out videos of for 2024 in the end of January or middle February. I got like 100 more albums I want to listen to for the next month to just get some stuff that I missed. As you can see, I've been very far behind. And then from there, we'll see where it goes. Still have some podcast ideas, still have some video ideas, but I want to at least get this off my plate because it's been forever. So I'm going to basically just do this like very stream of conscious. Um, you know, Stuff that I remember, I'll talk about in depth. Stuff that I barely remember, will have a glance relook. And this is very much off the chest. Haven't listened to some of these albums since March, and yeah, so there's going to be some pleasant surprises. So without further ado, welcome in, and we're going to start off with number 100. And number 100 is Svalbard with The Weight of the Mask. This was a great metal album released in 2023. I learned about this one from a few metal YouTubers, and this one, I didn't necessarily always like resonate with the music. It was a little bit more pensive than I was going to imagine, but the concept about depression and uh, you know um, very heavy themes definitely kept me engaged throughout. So this cracked my top 100. Number 99, we have Liturgy with 93696. This is a huge album to try to comprehend in one sitting. This is almost an hour and a half of material. And for those who have listened to Liturgy, you know how crazy some of the work can get. But this felt like a culmination of all the past albums. And even though it's a crazy ride to get into, for people who enjoy black metal, this is very experimental. Very much a lot of glitching, a lot of really interesting instrument choices. But if you are down to check out the experimentation and have an hour and a half to spend, go for it. It's a really interesting and creative album. Number 98, we have Frost Children with Speed Run. I'm not much of this like fans of like this hyper pop. There's a couple of here on here that I actually really enjoyed this year, that from 2023, and one of them was Speed Run by Frost Children. They also put out another album later that year, which was good, but I went to this one a little bit more Really enjoyed Flatline. Really enjoyed Sick Trip. All I Got. Such catchy stuff. And what I think I really enjoyed about it is there was a lot of really interesting melodies to pair with the zaniness of the hyperpop. So lovely time. Number 97, we have Wayfarer with American Gothic. This was another interesting blackish metal album, but with using more American Western themes. And that was a really cool mix. There are some longer songs, Cattle Thief um, being one of them, False Constellation, but all of them, you know, this is, I think, what I was looking for. There's an album a couple of years ago that people were raving about, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a black metal album with American Western ideas, but it felt too much like, oh, we're just doing too much of the black metal and not enough of the Western. This was a better mix of the two, and it kept me wanting to come back to it. Number 96, we have Higher from Chris Stapleton. Chris Stapleton with Higher. Longer album for him. This is, I think, coming off of Starting Over. So this one doesn't reach the highs of some of his other albums, but there are some stuff that I really really enjoy on here. White Horse. I really enjoy. Um, It Takes a Woman. The Fire. Higher. There are some songs on here that I do enjoy, and like even a mediocre Chris Stapleton album still has a lot of weight to it. So good job. I definitely want to hear a little bit better, but some great stuff still. Number 95, we have Rain with Radio Silence. This is first of some progressive metal albums that I have on the list. This one, it feels like a very meat and potatoes, but there's some stuff that I do enjoy, something new. Hypnosis, Bring It Back. There's Never Ending Circle. There's some really solid stuff on here. There is some kind of zaniness with the lyrics I don't always understand. I don't know if there's like a narrative theme around it, but at the same time, good stuff, really good stuff. I would like to hear more from this band and see what else they can do. Number 94, we have Rat Saw God by Wednesday. This one was a little bit higher on my list at points. I really enjoy Chosen to Deserve, and Bold Believer is a really interesting song. An 8-minute song on an indie album, very interesting. But I would say that like it did lose a little bit of steam as the year went on. So this is why it landed only in the top 100. But still, a really good stuff, and I can see why people really enjoyed it. Number 93, we have Mountain Goats with Jenny from Thebes. This one, from what I understand, is in reference to another album that I would like to get back to at some point. But I'm, very intrigued by the Mountain Goats. I didn't listen to them in the past. I've only listened to the last few albums, but I still really enjoyed this. And yeah, even though I didn't really understand what was going on narratively throughout, there was just some really beautiful songs, and I really enjoyed the use of horns and saxophones on this album. Really gave it another layer that was super enjoyable. Let's see. I think I may have missed one. So let's figure that out real quick. What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Yes, there's going to be some singing. Rain Wednesday. So Mountain Ghost was actually 92. Number 93 was Zach Bryan with his self-titled. Yeah, a lot's been going on with Zach Bryan recently. Maybe it's not the best time to talk about him, but I still did like his album from last year. It was a little bit long, about an hour, and some of it was a little bit samey, but I can't deny the raw talent that he has. Oklahoma was probably my favorite song on the album, which is the last song on the album, but there is still some grittiness there, and I still have to listen to American Bar Scene to see how that one went. But hey, still a very enjoyable country album. And then number 91 to finish the 90s, We have Mansion with Second Death. This is the most interesting doom metal album I've heard all year. It was very eerie. Um, it's talking about this cult, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but I will find it real quick. But it's talking about a particular um, form of religion that's very strict, and the way that they talk about this is very interesting. Makes you not sure whether these people are actually in this religion or if they just taking inspiration from it. Um, but it is something else. Let me see. Mm-mm-mm. So this is a branch of Lutheran Catholics that preach chastity, and there's a lot of just there's eeriness, a lot of eeriness. It makes you feel like you're actually part of the sermon itself, and there is this blurring of whether this is them and what they believe in, and what and if there's more of an inspiration from it. But even still, it's slow, it's painfully slow. But it makes the eeriness just that much more interesting. It's not something that I would always go back to, but it was a really interesting experience. All right, number 90, we have Ken Mode with Void. This is the follow up to Null from a couple of years ago. And, like, again, not really a noise rock person to begin with, but this one was super interesting. A lot of sensitivity, a lot of atmosphere. These Wires is such a powerful song with the lightness on on the melody, with the just overwhelming force on the choruses. And then like the last three of Reluctance of Being, He Was a Good Man, and Not Today, Old Friend. This is an album with a lot of doom and gloom, but it is a really interesting ride. Number 89, we have the Aces with I've Loved You for So Long. This was very much a top 50 album for a lot of the year, but I will say it did lose a little bit of points as I went on. It is a shorter album. There's some songs in there that I don't always love, but man, the songs that I do love, they were earworms. I love um, "Always Get This Way." This was one of my favorite songs of the year. I still want to cover it sometime. "Suburban Blues," "Younger." "I've Loved You for So Long." There's so many just great like rock songs, alt rock songs. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I want to see what else they're going to have up their sleeve later on. Number 88, we have Stormhaven with Blind Sight. This was one of the best Opeth inspired albums. It's really interesting to talk about that now, especially with Opeth dropping an album this year. But like this definitely quenched my thirst for Opeth style progressive metal. The last couple songs of the album, I believe that, like the last one is like a 12 or 13-minute song. Let's see. No, it's 6 tracks, but the last one is 24 minutes and 32 seconds, and it's a hell of a ride. This is over an hour of material, but it was just really enjoyable. It was like one of the last albums I listened to from 2023, and man, I'm so glad I checked it out. Number 87, I believe, at this point. Um, we are at number 87, yes, is Blonde Shell with their self-titled Blonde Shell. I'm gonna have a lot of indie rock on here as well. It's been something that I've been really getting into over the years, and Blonde Shell is no exception. Like another album I heard later on in the year, and there's some great songs on here. The the Get Back Karma song Salad, so great, and um, the methodical way that Blonde describes what they're going to do to this person is just phenomenal. And then like there's a lot of like slower and more emotional songs on the back end. Joiner, Dangerous. Sober Together, all beautiful. I love how there's this mix of the powerful and the emotional throughout this album. They did a wonderful job, and just another great up and coming songstress on the indie rock scene. Um, Number 86, we have CMAT with Crazy Mad for Me. This is one of a few kind of similar vein to Olivia Rodrigo, in my opinion, that I just really enjoyed. This one's a little bit more, alternative, but um, I will say it reminds me of certain stuff like Olivia Rodrigo, and I will say again that this is a better Olivia Rodrigo album than the Olivia Rodrigo album from 2023. It might be a weird way of calling it, but for some reason I kind of associate the two. There's a lot of really fun songs. Where Your Kids Tonight, um, Have Fun as a closer is so great. Um, and there are some very vulnerable moments. I Hate Who I Am When I'm Horny is one of them. Just a really enjoyable, and I definitely need to go back to it because there were some. I don't remember it as much as I wish I did, but there's just it was just a really lovely experience. As with all of these, speaking of a lovely experience, we have number 85. We have the Lemon Twigs with Everything Harmony. This throwback. Like 60s inspired rock. Um, really, really nice. And I know there's another one this year that is getting a lot of rave reviews. So I need to check it out as well because, man, this just feels so lovely. And um, it, I can see why everyone loves this album. Um, just like, it just feels so pure in ways. And it's something that I haven't heard in a while. So it's a nice revitalization of it. I, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Other Everything Harmony, I can't remember most of these songs right now. When Winter Comes Around, I do. Oh, In My Head. In My Head was beautiful, even though the falsetto is just a little bit weird. Every Day is the Worst Day of My Life. Great acoustic song. Um, it harkens back to a time that I haven't heard a lot of recently, and I can't wait to hear the next one because apparently it's getting even better reviews. Number 84, we have Young Fathers with Heavy Heavy. This was another one that I kind of like went back and forth on. At points, I was like, wow, this is a top 50 album. And then other times I was like, I don't resonate with this at all. There's a lot of really interesting instrumentation work that makes these songs have a world of its own. And I think that's why I still kept it in the top 100. Off the top of my head, I can't remember any of these songs. Makes me have to go back, but I would definitely say this is probably the best Young Fathers album that I've listened to. And it definitely makes me want to go back to it. Number 83, we have Colin Stetson with When We Were That What Wept for the Sea. First diving into Colin Stetson, and I can't believe I didn't check him out sooner because his saxophone work is something else. It's absolutely hypnotic. Um, some parts of it feels a little bit one note at times, which is weird for me to say for someone who has such incredible talent and breath work. But I will say that, like, even if it feels like one cohesive piece at times, like, it is still very beautiful and very hypnotic. And again, another person who brought an album this year that I need to check out and see if it will also make my list. Number 82, we have The Worm from HMLTD. Man, again, this one, like, for me, I was screaming its name when I first heard it because I was like, wow, this is so creative. I was even telling like a past roommate of mine that, wow, this is something you got to listen to. I do still really enjoy this album. I do like the eeriness, the just dirtiness of this album that feels like Pink Floyd, but a little bit more dirty. And it makes for a very enjoyable album where like because like at the beginning there is a little bit more of this dirtiness. Like Wormlands feels very dirty, um, and like eerie. Like we're going into this different world, right? But then you start to realize that there is this like subconscious level of this person who is dealing with some stuff, and like it's depicting himself as a worm. And there are some really beautiful songs later on that kind of like deal with the push and pull of this. I will say like I probably overhyped this album when I first heard it, but I still think it's a great album concept. And even though it doesn't reinvent the wheel with some of this stuff, I still think it was a really interesting ride. And for those who have liked HMLTD in time, especially after West of Eden, I believe, um, this is still a very enjoyable album. Number 81, we have Wiki and Tony Seltzer with 14K Figaro. This is just a really solid rap album. I really like the flow and the work, the instrumentation work, the sample work. All in all, just a really fun album. The one that I remember really well is Lily Pad. I just love the how like serene it is, and like with a little bit of groove to it. I will say the "Hey Tony" thing on every song as a trademark gets a little bit annoying at times, but still, it's a really solid uh, addition to this list. All right, we have now the top 80, and with 80 we have Genesis Owuzu with Struggler. Um, Man, this is another album that everyone's saying the praises of that just had a little bit of a hard time getting into. Not saying that it's a bad album at all. It still made my list, but I just had a hard time. Like, I don't know. Like, I missed the first Genesis Owuzu album, so maybe it's me just not getting into their work and understanding them at first. But I still think there's a really interesting concept of this fight with God and um, not feeling like he's on your side and stuff like that. Um, you know, this simile of the roach and the God, very interesting. I love the just R&B flair of "See You There." Really love song, really great song. Um, Balthazar, very catchy. Um, Leaving the Light is a great opener, but I just wish that this one like stuck a little bit more to me. It's still a really enjoyable album, like, and a very interesting concept. Like, honestly, it's only 37 minutes, so like, stay for the concept at least. Number 79, Pure Maze with Bloodlines. I've really gotten into Pure Maze. I think I'm really enjoying power metal. Um, yeah, it's not. This one's weird to me because another one where I was like, this might make top 50 at some point, but what like it feels more pop in terms of some of the arrangements, um, and it feels like the most accessible Pyramids album, which that's not a bad thing, but I think why it's a little bit lower is because of the little bit of poppiness of it, the more oversimplicity. Not saying like these songs are bad, Taking What's Mine, Broken Arrow, The Midnight Sun. There's some really really fun songs. It's just there's a part of this that feels like hmm, they dumbed it down a little bit. Still a really enjoyable album though. Number 78, we have Grian Chatin with Chaos for the Fly. I don't know if I said that right, but he is the frontman of the Fontaines DC, and I've had a very love-hate relationship with Fontaines DC. Recently, absolutely loved the first one. It had this punkish flair, but like a little bit more maturity to it that I just really enjoyed. Um, but like the last few albums of theirs, like it kind of start going downhill for me. Like their album this year wasn't bad, but I don't see the praise that it's getting. This one felt different. I felt like Grion was able to like experiment more the way that he wanted to without having to put the Fontaine's label on it. And I think like this worked better for me because it doesn't have that Fontaine's level label. Um, having like a very like schmaltzy song like Bob's Casino is so interesting. Fairleys is great. Salt Throwers Off a Truck is really great. Um, I enjoy this more, and I would love to see more solo work from him because, man, I don't. I kind of wish that they went back to their more raw sound with Fontaine's DC. I'm usually someone who doesn't go for raw sounds. All right, let's see. I believe it's 77 at this point. Man, I need to keep track. I'm very rusty at this, apparently. Number. Yep, number 77, we have McKinley Dixon with Beloved Paradise Jazz, a very short but very fun rap album, jazz rap. It's only 10 songs, but a lot of them are very short. Um, and I just really enjoyed the jazz work on here. There's also a little bit of spoken word. And I think just like the lyrical imagery is great on here. Run, 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 my favorite song on the album. Really love what they're doing there on that. So yeah, great, great piece of rap. Number 76, we're getting there. We have Yves Tumor with Praise the Lord You Choose, but which does not consume, or simply Hop Between Worlds. This is my favorite Yves Tumor album by far. Very, very enjoyable. This is the sound that I most resonate with them. The last couple of times I've listened to Yves Tumor, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I finally got it. Um, I would say it did drop down a little bit just because some better albums, but nothing to like discourage Eve for doing the sound that they did. Great stuff. Meteor Blues, I think, is my favorite song on the album. But just in general, just really solid. Number 75, we have Kara Jackson with "Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love." This one is very interesting. Was not it was not what I was expecting when I first heard the review about this. And I will say, like, her voice is very interesting and something to get used to at times, but the lyrical content is phenomenal and very existential and very emotional at times. Like Rat, why does the earth give us people to love? And Curtains, that three is so beautiful. But there's also some fun stuff on here, like Dickhead Blues, Therapy, where she's talking about that she doesn't have to be someone's therapist in a relationship. Liquor, getting drunk and feeling a little bit sad. Just in general, a really interesting piece of music and very like heartfelt, very existential at times, very thoughtful, and it makes me very curious for the next album. Number 74, Panopticon with the Rhyme of Memory. You're going to hear us talk about this album a little bit more in length in the top 10. My brother had this very high in his list, spoiler. And it made me listen back to this album because it was, again, an album that came out in December or around that time, November. And at first, I just didn't get it. Um, and I'm not saying I still do. It is a very long album. There's a lot of very long songs, and there is this because I think it's 6 tracks if I remember correctly. So you're 5 or 6 tracks. Yeah, it's 6 tracks, and just like to give you a understanding, other than the first song, which is 2 minutes long, everything else is 9 minutes or more, with the second track being almost 20 minutes, the third track being 16, the fifth track being 12 minutes, and the last track being 15 minutes. So you have a lot of very long songs that are very pensive, a lot of interesting black metal. This doesn't build the way that I really enjoyed from their last album, but there's still a rawness to it that's really enjoyable. I will say there's some production things I wasn't as interested in, but like I do understand that this is the idea of like, hey, it's this idea of time, the passions of time. My brother says it best when you do eventually listen to this, that like this is a perfect winter album, just going on a drive. And if if you like your black metal, this is a perfect album like where you go on the drive and just put it on and just meditate to it. So it is beautiful in times. Just I wish that it was a little bit better on the cohesiveness. Number 73, we have the Armed with Perfect Saviors. If you were to tell me again, like 10 years ago, that I would be a Armed fan, especially after the first time I listened to them, uh, I would be like gobsmacked, because this is not the same Armed, and like that's not a bad thing. For some people, it might be. It's not as heavy, but like they're experimenting more. And just for me, I really enjoy the experimentation. Like Public Grieving is beautiful. Um, there's a lot of really fun and interesting songs that kind of have this a little bit of like hyperpop at times. Very very little, right? But it like this feels an interesting transition for them where it's a little bit more rock based, a little bit with a little bit of touch of weirdness to it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I can't believe I'm saying that for an Armed album. Number 72, we have Unprocessed with and Everything in Between. Another one of these progressive metal, very similar to Polyphia. If Polyphia was a little bit more heavy, I would say. And like sometimes like the heaviness just doesn't work. I would say later on in the album, there is this a little bit of ear fatigue, but I just was entranced by this sound being a little bit more progressive, and a little less radio friendly. So I'm glad I checked it out, and I definitely need to check out more Unprocessed in the future. Number 71, this is going to be a little bit controversial apparently, but we have Sundial from No Name. I'm going to take some of the lyrical content aside, and I think that may have been a reason why I dropped this a little bit. I know Anthony Fantano was very on the fence about this album. I just really enjoy No Name and their flow. Their last album, I believe I had top 5 from like 5 or 6 years ago, and there is still a great flow to this album. Um, really enjoy Boom Boom. Really enjoy Beauty Supply, Oblivion. I will say, I think the one issue I do have is that this album kind of ends abruptly and is only 30 minutes long. So maybe that's why it's not sticking as long as much for me. But I still really enjoy this album on a whole, and it is a quick listen, and she still has a great flow. So definitely check it out if you have the time. All right, third of the way through, we are going to number 70. And this is Arlo Parks with My Soft Machine. Yeah, this is a little bit lower than the last album I had of theirs. This album, um, Collapse and Sunbeams, one of my favorite albums of 2021. I believe it was top 20. There's still some great songs. This is a little bit heavier than some of the stuff that she had done before, but I think it's just time for me, as well as um, a lot of really good stuff in general. But like Few Brothers on Pegasus is beautiful. Um, the beginning of this album I remember a little bit more than the last of this album. Um, it didn't hit the highs of Collapse and Sunbeams, but it's still a solid album. Number 69, we have Creeper with Singivore, and I feel like this is actually kind of pretty apt for number for them. Very much gothic, with a little bit of Meatloaf on Further Than Forever. Beautiful song. Um, Cry to Heaven. Cry to Heaven. Great song. This does get a little bit at the end, just a little bit. You lose a little bit of steam, but I still do enjoy More Than Death as a closer. And overall, definitely see why a lot of people love this. It is a little bit more gothic, and I'm not always someone that really enjoys gothic, but hell, this was a really fun listen. Number 68, we have Bloodstar with First Sighting. Man, I will say there's a lot of Metal Monthly stuff from Mayor TV that I don't necessarily gel with, but this was such a good one. This is just a great old-fashioned meat and potatoes heavy metal album, and the singer from this band is just has it going. She has great range, and also just a lot of power in her voice. Cold Moon, if I was to make a top 50 song list, was definitely going to be there. Just didn't have the time. But it's not very long, and it's just really enjoyable all throughout. If you're just looking for a great heavy metal album, look no further than this. 67, we have Pupil Slicer with Blossom. Man, I really enjoy this one a lot more than their last one, and I know that that might be a little bit blasphemous, but there's just a little bit more versatility on this album, rather than just like hitting you over the head. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of uh, worship of Dillinger Escape Band, and having this more industrial sound with it too. So like there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of heaviness to it, but there also are some songs on here that are just absolutely beautiful. And for me, that's what kind of, when I was listening to the first time, I was like, wow, this is very versatile. This is really enjoyable. Yes, it dropped, but make no mistake, this is a great follow-up album from People Slicer. Number 66, we have Dying Wish with Symptoms of Survival. Hell yeah, this album. Hell yeah. It's, again, another one of these short, get in there, raise some hell, a lot of power, and then just get out. And I also really enjoy that there's some songs on here that have a little bit of slowness to them. I believe it's Path to Your Grave and Paved in Sorrow, if I remember correctly, that feel a little bit more like, honestly, one of those songs reminds me of Bullet for My Valentine, A Place Where You Belong, which is one of my favorite Bullet for My Valentine songs. Absolutely enjoy that song. Yeah, again, versatility on this album, but a lot of power, but a lot of beauty as well, and it ends pretty quickly. Number 65, we have Astral Born with Across the Aeons. This is another one where I listened a little bit later, and man, I'm really happy that I did. All these songs are just straight, great progressive death metal. And man, like the flow itself is just so good. It is a little bit longer, but there's not like a really bad song on this album. Um, it just is a little bit lower just because it is the end of the year for that one, so it just took a while for me to. I didn't have as much play. Like this definitely could have potentially made top 50 if everything worked out. All right, these last four of this particular area, I will say that these are the controversial ones, but I am sticking with it. Um, Number 64. So I feel like a lot of these are going to be very controversial because a lot of people were very mixed on these albums. So number 64, we have Sleep Token with Take Me Back to Eden. Um, do I fully enjoy this album? Maybe not. I will say I keep going back and forth. There is some stuff where I feel like it is a little bit shallow at times. Like the Something, I love parts of this song, but there are some parts where I just feel like it's a little bit empty. But I really enjoy other stuff, and I really enjoy like the mixture here. I'm happy that this album got the praise that it did and the recognition because this is a very versatile and forward-thinking metal album. Aqua Regia, this with the trap inspired beats, really enjoy that. Really enjoy Granite. Vor is very, very powerful. Are you really okay? Yeah. Does it feel a little bit like an Alter Bridge song? Yeah, but I still really, I think it's beautiful at times. Um, it's There's a lot of mixed bag feelings on this, and probably this is why it didn't make top 50, but it's not out of the top 100. Um, I think there's still a lot of really great praise on this album and a lot of really interesting mixtures. And I understand that, my brother told me that the other ones are a little bit heavier, and that's why he doesn't like this one. I have to go back. Probably, maybe there's a chance that I will feel the same. But I'm not going to deny that this is a really interesting album, and I understand why people gave it the praise that it did. It is long. I think it's over an hour, but still, I really enjoyed it in parts. Number 63. Yep, that is exactly what you think it might be. We got Avenged Sevenfold with Life is But a Dream. Um, Very controversial album. A lot of people really hated this album. A lot of reviewers said it was one of the worst albums. Um, no, I get it. It's not out there like some other stuff like Mr. Bungle. Um, I get that in terms of the zaniness of this album, there are people who have done it better. But that doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at strictly what Avenged Sevenfold did. And Avenged Sevenfold went very, very much out of their comfort zone. And I think for the most part, it paid off. I did like a 40-minute review on this, so you could check it out. But the basis for me is that I feel like every single song on here, um, I feel like the music and the lyrics work so well together. And I think there's very few albums this year that did that. I feel like everything kind of matches up the way it's supposed to for their vision. Is it perfect? No, not at all. I think there are some songs on here that get kind of cheesy. Beautiful Morning, um, Ordinary, Death. I think they're very, very cheesy at times. But there's also some really beautiful songs. Cosmic is easily one of my favorite songs of last year. I think it's one of the most beautiful songs about life, love, and reincarnation that I have heard. And I think they just kill it all fronts. Sinister Gates on guitar with that. I think, yeah, there are some parts on here that do feel a little bit out of M Shadow's range, and he did have some issues with his voice when making this album. But make no mistake, this is a really interesting dive. Is it something that I'll come back to every single time for them? No. But I am very happy that I got to see them live, and I'm very happy to have heard their songs. And he sounds amazing. He sounded amazing during that concert. So If you're going to talk about, oh, he doesn't sound good on this album, sure, maybe that is the case, but at the same time, that also adds a little bit of rawness to this album. Um, and there's a lot of very existential thoughts coming through this album. It's not for everybody. Like, literally, I'm pretty sure if you read this album correctly, the person dies at the end. The person takes their life, and then you have the "Life is but a dream" piano bit at the end, being like, "Oh, well, this is the end of the album. Life still goes on." This is a very dark album, but at the same time, I think the music behind it uh, pushes it forward for a very incredible experience. Number 62, we have Stone by Baroness. Again, probably not everyone's favorite Baroness album. It is a little bit lighter. There are not as much there isn't as much heaviness to this album. But that still being said, there's a lot of really interesting songs like Beneath the Rose. I really enjoy Bloom as a closer. This acoustic ballad with um, with both John Dyer and Gina Gleason singing together. It's beautiful. I really enjoyed this ending part. Um, you know, Choir is a little bit of an interesting song. Um, After Beneath the Rose as a follow up, Last Word's great though. And the mix, the three of Anodyne, Shine, and Magnolia, really solid stuff as well. Magnolia is one of my favorite songs on this album. Um, yeah, it's not as heavy. Doesn't have to be. People are allowed to play around, and it's a great album from them. And number 61, to finish up some of these more controversial ones, we have Code Orange with The Above. Um, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a companion piece to Underneath, but and it's so tough because I love that last album so much. The rawness, the heaviness of this. This is definitely not as heavy. This is a little bit more punkish, a little bit softer than some of the stuff. And there is like this like span of like 4 or 5 songs where it feels like you're just like getting hit over the head one after another of like, oh, we're finishing up this quick song, let's do another one. That feels a little bit punkish to me, like The Game, Grooming My Replacement, Snapshot, Circle Through. All those together feel very like scattershot at times, like, wow, we have to get through this. Also, Billy Corgan on here didn't really add much. Take Shape, good single, not my favorite though, but there are some really great songs on here that are still pretty heavy and work with this tension. Never Far Apart as a beginning song, especially with that chorus feeling a little bit more sing-songy, um, is great. And like, I love the slowdown on Mask of Sandy Slips. Mirror, is also kind of a beautiful song. And I love how Reba on this song is the focal point. A drone opting out of the hive, that is such a heavy song. Yeah, the ending part of this album isn't as interesting, and that is a little bit tough, but there are still some highlights here, like The Game, or sorry, Snapshot, or Grooming My Replacement. Grooming My Replacement is that is heavy and dark. um I would love some more like Underneath, but this was still a very solid album. Let's see. We are in the top 60. Number 60, we have Mon Laferte with Alta Poetica. I hope I said that correctly. I have been getting to a little bit more Spanish music from Anthony Fantano. And I just really enjoyed this one. This one felt a little bit more experimental at times. Um, and it made for a very unique look at some more classic sounding um, Spanish music. Like I like how there's like this editing um, in the production that makes it very interesting at times. But there's also, of course, some really just solid uh, classical Spanish music like Metamorphosis or I believe it's Pornocracia is another one, or Amantes Suicides. Those were really enjoyable. And overall, just Levitico 29 was also really fun. I'm just remembering some of these. Gotta go back to this. I definitely need a little bit more Spanish and Latinx um, music to listen to. So if anyone watching this, if you have any recommendations, definitely let me know. Number 59, we have Black Pumas with Chronicles of a Diamond. Um, this one I really enjoy. There's some simplicity to it, but I think the simplicity is really fun. I really enjoy Ice Cream Payphone. So great. Mrs. Postman has a really solid beat too. Angel, it's one of these. It's one of these slower songs that is very simplistic. Has a lot. He starts a lot with just the like acoustic guitar, but the way it builds, especially with the vocals, is so beautiful. And then Song Yang is such a fun song. Um, Rock and roll doesn't necessarily as the last song, it doesn't like get me going, but like overall, um, as a follow up to their album that was nominated for a Grammy, still really enjoyable. It makes me want to go back to Black Pumas because I don't think I listened to that album, and I want to see what the hype was for that. Number 58. Honestly, the next couple feel very tied together, but still really, I'm going to talk about each one. Number 58, we have Arm & Hammer with We Buy Diabetic Test Strips. I have such a love-hate relationship with Billy Woods and Arm & Hammer. There are points where I'm like, oh my God, this is such an incredible album. And then there are points where like, I don't understand why I enjoy this. So let's chalk this up to it being more to the former than the latter. If I had more time with this could have made my top 50, but still a really solid and very interesting album. They're both Ulysses and Billy Woods on top of the game. And you're going to see that also with 57, Billy Woods with Uncanny Signal with Maps. This is probably my favorite Billy Woods album that I've heard. And I can definitely see why everyone else is in agreement with that. Just bar after bar after bar throughout the album. Soundtrack with Quelly Chris, another person I love. I'm remembering this now. Okay. Why I love this album so much is I feel like Billy Woods gives all these other artists the room to be themselves. And like it's songs that feel like Kenny Siegel and Billy Woods understand who the person was, and it gave enough room for them to do their stuff and be them without having to fit into a mold of Billy Woods. Soundcheck, Year Zero with Danny Brown, Baby Steps with Lucid and Benjamin Booker, Waiting Around with Aesop Rock, great song too. All these together, it makes it feel like they're listening to this artist and being like, okay, we're going to give your style over to this album. And maybe that's why I like this Billy Woods album so much more than the other ones. Is it's not all just about Billy Woods. The production is great. The guest artists are great. And it gives room for Billy Woods to really be enjoyable throughout the album. Number 56, we have Black Thought and L. Michaels with Glorious Game. I've been recently enjoying Black Thought. I need to go back to their stuff, especially with their work in The Roots, because, man, he is really good, and he just keeps putting out great albums. I really enjoyed Cheat Codes from the year prior, and this is a smaller album, but it's still enjoyable. 31 minutes, but still, he's still on top of his game. And I need to go back to this again to give it another listen because I'm excited to listen to them again. Number 55, we have Peter Gabriel with I.O. This was my first dive into Peter Gabriel. And I'm so glad that I listened to this. I am so sad I haven't checked them out earlier than this. And honestly, thinking now, like if there was one album that I would probably put in the top 50 after reading these, like this one for sure. Yes, there are some songs on here that I'm not as enamored by, and honestly, I don't see much of a difference between the bright side and the dark side mix. I like the idea. I've listened to both of them. It is hard to probably remember some of these. I probably have to go one by one instead of listening to it fully because it is an hour and 8 minutes. That makes it a little bit tough to remember everything. But like, wow, like there are some great songs on here. Road to Joy, I.O. I.O. feels like a throwback. My favorite, though, is Playing for Time. It is an absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking song about aging. Absolutely. If there is one song on this album that you need to listen to, it is Playing for Time. This is a very interesting and unique album for this age. And for it to come years, decades after his last album, and also the fact that he's been working on this for almost 3 decades, and to see it pay off like this, absolutely phenomenal. 54, we have Ville Valo with Neon Noir. This is the frontman of Him, someone I hadn't thought about in years, but on recommendation, I checked this out, and this is absolutely beautiful gothic metal, phenomenal. There's some great songs on here: Neon Noir, Love Letting, The Forever Lost, Baby Lacrim, Mariam. This in general is an hour long, and sometimes it does feel a little bit long, but all these songs just have some beauty in the melody and the chorus. They're so engaging. This one definitely grew on me because at first I was like, I don't know. But as I went on, this almost made the top 50, as you can see. Number 53, we have The Window by Rat Boys. Finally, a little bit more alt country indie. Really enjoyable. The lead singer's voice is kind of unique, but I still really enjoy a lot of these songs. Morning Zoo, Cross That Line, No Way. No Way is such a powerful song. And there's some beauty in Black Earth, Wisconsin. There is a little bit of it feeling a little bit jammy at times, but all in all, really solid alt country indie. And you're definitely going to see more of that on this album. On this list. Like next one, number 52, Japanese House with In the End It Always Does. This one, looking at it now, I might have dropped a little bit more. This one I was having a hard time with, though I do love Morning Pages with Muna. And the beginning of this album, Spot Dog, Touching Yourself, Sad to Breathe, really great stuff. I don't remember as much the stuff from the end. I do remember Friends, but and One for Sorrow, Two for Johnny Jones. But everything else is kind of a blur. I probably would drop this a little bit, but make no mistake, it is still a really solid album. And then number 51, the one that just missed the top 50, is Water Made Us. Fry do Jamila Woods. Legacy, I don't remember as well. And I won't say that this is always engaging in terms of the music, but what I really enjoy about this album, and maybe it's just my space in my life, is like the lyrical content about maturity and love and understanding yourself, very much where I am in my life. So I think this gets the nod just because of that. There's still some really beautiful songs, but all in all, I think it's the lyrical content that really drives me. And for someone who's looking for a little bit more of a healthy look at love, this is a great album to take a look at. Ooh, all right, we're in the top 50. We are getting there. We are for sure getting there. All right, number 50, and just making it, is 100 gecs with 10,000 gecs. That's a lot of gecs. What can I say? A lot of people really enjoyed this album. This is one of my 3 hyperpop albums on my top 100. There's okay. When this album is hitting, it is hilarious and amazing and so great. Frog on the Floor, one of my favorite songs of 2023. And I mean, Doritos and Fritos is so funny. Billy Knows Jamie, $1 million. The most wanted person in the United States. The United States. Like the fact that they put a song called I Got My Tooth Removed, which is either a song about like letting go of someone in a relationship or actually talking about getting tooth removed. Hilarious. And the fact that it's a ska song is just so good. But I will say, like, I'm not a huge hyperpop person, and when it is very annoying and grating, that's when it like gets really bad for me. Like, I don't really like Dumbest Girl Alive. 757 is enjoyable, but it's just not like there. And then like Me, not my favorite stuff. So like when it's on, it is absolutely on. When it's not, it is grating as hell. And that's why, even though like at first I was like, okay, this might be like a top 25 album, there's just something about some of the gratingness that doesn't make me want to come back. And the fact that it is the first and the last song of the album makes it a little bit harder for me. But still, a lot of really fun and silly songs. Number 49, we have Angelo De Augustine with Toil and Trouble. Yeah, I mess with this one. I mess with this one a lot. You know, this one in a year where also Sufjan Stevens also dropped an album. It's a little bit hard, and this sometimes gets overlooked, especially because Sufjan Stevens is a little bit bigger. They did an album together not that long ago that called The Beginner's Mind. That was a lot of fun. And this one definitely is a little bit more sad, but it's still very beautiful. The Ballad of Benny and Barney Hill, very beautiful. Memory Palace. I Don't Want to Live, I Don't Want to Die. Another Universe is also really beautiful. Song of the Siren, Blood Red Thorn. Naked Blade is also, wow. There's a lot of very raw songs, and they're all really, there's a lot of really beautiful, engaging arrangements. It's really tough because Sufjan Stevens also put up a really great album this year, and there is this parallel connection between them. Angelo sounding very similar to Sufjan Stevens at times. So, I understand if you missed this one, but if you love Sufjan Stevens, check out, and you didn't check out this one, check this one out. It's only 38 minutes, and there is very much a lot of beauty to this. Number 48, we have Onone with My Back Was a Bridge for You to Cross. Wow. This one was very different, very throwback. I was very surprised by this album when I first heard it. There was very much a little bit more Motown, a little bit more old school vibe, and it makes for some very beautiful songs about the LGBT community, especially It's My Fault. Why Am I Alive Now? There Wasn't Enough. Like there's so many heartbreaking songs on here. I didn't realize that Onone had this beautiful voice, and it really comes off throughout this album. It's very rough to hear sometimes, but also very much a worthwhile listen if you have the time. It's only 41 minutes. It's a little bit longer, but it's still there's still a lot really there that's just beautiful. Uh, Number 47, we have DeVirgil, Morse, and Jennings with Sophomore. Not as great as their last album. I've really enjoyed that last album. But this one also came out of nowhere, and there is a little bit more progressiveness to it. Um, like Walking on Water feels a little bit more like uh, like a lighter Haken song at times. Um, but overall, another really solid album from them. I love what they're doing, and I love how they brought a little bit more of their progressive side to this album, not just making it a complete like Crosby, Stills, and Nash 1-to-1. Hard to Be Easy, great opener. Lingers at the Edge of My Memory is a really beautiful song um, about like aging. Tiny Little Fires has this more marimba and sound to it. With marimbas and xylophones, and also like it has this more complex rhythm to it, which I really enjoy. But there's also some songs in here that I'm just not a fan of. Mama is the one that comes off. It just feels like a very stereotypical song from that time. But Anywhere the Wind Blows is a great closer to this album. Um, if you missed this one, like you missed the first one, check it out. If you're looking for some Crosby, Stills, and Nash revitalization, this is the way to go. Number 46, we have Jessie Ware with That Feels Good. Wasn't a huge fan of the last album, or like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like getting me. But like, man, this one is so much better, in my opinion. Just a lot of really fun songs. Begin Again, one of my favorite songs on the album. One of my favorite songs of the year. Free Yourself, beautiful. Pearls, beautiful. Freak Me Now has this like throwback 2000s, late 90s feel to it. So much fun. And it's just, there's a lot of really fun disco ideas. There's a lot of sultriness to it, working all together. And I absolutely adore it. Adore it. Number 45, Velveteen by Pony. Man, this is so sugary. It feels like late 90s, like alt rock, early 2000s. So sugary at times, and I love it. Sick. I love like the beginning of this album. Peach, Sick, Sucker Punch, Haunted House, um, Sunny Rose. Uh, all these, even Haircut. Like it's a very short album, and like if you're missing that like sugary 2000s 90s like Hanson kind of style with a little bit of grunge to it, like this is such a great homage to it, and it's so fun. Number 44, wow. Here we are, and this is probably where I got my idea of like going back and checking out some albums that if they age well or not. Number 44, we have Chapel Roan with The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. Um, Man, when I first checked this one out, it didn't have like a lot of publicity to it at the time, and I was like, man, this is the one I'm looking for. Like this is the Olivia Rodrigo. This has been should have been the Olivia Rodrigo album that came out in 2023, but we don't know if it's going to get a lot of attention, and it blew up, and I can see why. And I wish I had put this out a year ago so I could have talked about this a little bit before and kind of got out in front. But like, man, this album is so much fun. But there's also like the fun to it, but also the heartbreak to it. Like Red Wine Supernova was everywhere, and it's so much fun. Love After Midnight. Coffee is a beautiful like potential breakup song. Casual is a lot of fun. Hot to Go, that's everywhere. My Kink is Karma, that is also great. It's probably the best Taylor Swift song that I've heard in a very long time. Kaleidoscope, absolutely beautiful, about like wanting to be with somebody, but not sure if they see you the same way. Like the last part of this album, not necessarily isn't my favorite, but Pink Pony Club and Naked in Manhattan, some great songs. Overall, like just a really fun um, ride. And I know that her life has been a little bit crazy over the last year, but like still check out the album if you haven't. Like if you haven't, like what are you doing? 43, we have Ray with My 21st Century Blues. Man, this is also a kind of that a little bit of same vein, but a little bit more mature sound in my opinion, and a little bit more jazzy. Love Oscar winning Tears. Like just for that, like just listen to that song if you have time, because man, this is a incredible pop song, alt pop song. Um, if you haven't checked that one out. The Thrill Is Gone interpolation of that song is great. Um, Worth It, man, love Worth It. You make it that much better. Like another short-ish album, but this she has some great talent, and it's definitely worth it. Number 42, we have Reverend Christian Michael Hayter with Saved. This one is for the experience. If you don't know who this is Lingua Ignota, and we've talked about Lingua Ignota on this channel a few times. This one is different. This one makes it kind of like a found footage album. I don't want to give away too much of this, but this very like there's these ideas of church music, a little bit cultish ideas. The experience itself really interesting, really surreal. Give it one listen at least. If you were interested in Lingua Ignota stuff before, you might feel like it's a little bit lesser in terms of intensity, but make no mistake, the experience itself is absolutely jarring at times, and you'll hear it, right, because there's a lot of these like gospel, like these church hymns, and you'll start to notice that there's something a little bit off with the music. I don't want to give it away, but like check it out if you haven't. Number 41, Scaring the Hose by JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. Man, this one this one's lower because there is still part of me that like has a very love-hate relationship with JPEG Mafia. But man, I just really enjoy like the call and response of each song. I love how like the arrangements are unique, and I love how one will start the song and the next will finish, and then you go from there. The next song being that person starting and the other one finishing. There's this camaraderie, and they work so well together. There's a reason why everyone loves this album in the rap scene. So, man, if you haven't checked that one out, please do so. All right, we got 30 more. All right. Number 40, we have Invent Animate with Heavener. This one is more metalcore, but I really enjoyed this one. There's some atmosphere to it that I really enjoyed overall, making this a little bit more mm, what's the word, meditative than some other metalcore that gets a little bit um, samey. There are some times where I don't really enjoy the singer's voice, which is why this dropped a little bit more. But check this one out if you're looking for a little bit more atmosphere with your metalcore, because it's definitely worth it. Number 39, Pale Existence with Oceans of Grief. Man, the arrangements, very Opeth like as well. Great guitar work. The vocals are very forgettable, in my opinion. But what stands out is the guitar work throughout this album. Definitely worth it if you're just looking to just bask in some great old school progressive Opeth kind of sound. Especially like the more like serene parts of it. That's what like makes this album as good as it is. Number 38, we have Shores of Null with the Loss of Beauty. I'm actually having a little bit of a hard time remembering this one. Oh, yes, no, this was one of the last ones that I listened to. Another one of these a little bit more gothic in sound. Um, and th- Man, like at first I wasn't like as uh enamored with it, but as I listened to it more and more, it just really stuck with me. Um, it's very beautiful for a like a gothic, like death metal ish album, blackened album. Um, yeah, I need to check this one out again because it's blanking a little bit in my mind, but I remember this. I remember the album cover, and like I remember that it being a very beautiful album. So I know I can't really sell you on it as much, but still check it out. Number 37, we have Insomnium with Anno 1696. Man, this is again another one of these more progressive blackened stuff that I really enjoyed. Godforsaken, Starless Paths, The Witch Hunter, The Unrest, and The Rapids. Like the rest of the back half of the album is incredible, absolutely incredible. Um, wow, like man, it's definitely worth your time um, with it just being there's great balance of light and heavy throughout the album, and just altogether a really solid metal album. Number 36, we have Stone with Memorial. It isn't my favorite Stone album, but also like Stone's been on a great run for me. Like going from God, from Lotus Imperial, those two were incredible albums. The live album that they had that was more acoustic, phenomenal. Altogether, like they've been on a really good run, and this is still not a bad album. This feels a little bit more mainstream, a little bit. I got to see them live, and they played a decent amount here. But there's still some great stuff on here. Unbreakable, Violence, Vitals as the last song is very different. It feels crooner-ish at times, but it's very raw in emotion. And it falls along the same track as some of these last albums where the last song is very beautiful. Um, I really enjoy it. It there is a little bit of fatigue this time around, kind of like Kaya, but it's not as long. Um, and it's still Soen. Soen does a lot of really great stuff. They don't always buck their formula, but when they do, it is really enjoyable. And there are parts on this that make it stay in the top 50 for me. Number 35, we have Camelot with The Awakening, a power out a metal album, but this one just like hit with me. Um, Eventide, One More Flag on the Ground, Opus of the Night, um, New Babylon. Like, there's some great My Pantheon, like just really great in anthemic metal. Like if you're looking for something with high energy, anthemic, it's really so much fun. Like singing One More Flag on the Ground is so much fun. Um, yeah, there's a little bit of sameness at times, but I think there's enough there that I just really enjoy and just gets into my bloodstream. Number 34, Stephen Wilson with the Harmony Codex. This one was a late riser. This is a very hard album for me to talk about because, like, after The Future Bites, that one felt a little bit like less progressive and a little bit more electronic, and it didn't really stick with me. This one, I feel like, does better, and I'm not saying that there's all these songs are phenomenal. Um, I don't really like Inclination at the beginning, uh, but like there's so many really interesting experimentations on here that I really enjoyed. That I think really paid off. It reminds me, honestly, of the Peter Gabriel album in ways, but a little bit more, um, you know, a little bit more. experimental, a little bit more electronic. What Life Brings is a very solid, very standard Stephen Wilson song, but like Economies of Scale, I like how that one builds. Impossible Tightrope, another really great builder. Rock Bottom is a beautiful ballad. Um, the Harmony Codex is very meditative, and I really like the idea of this particular song and how it like builds and like how you're basically changing one note on each of the chords to make for a really far out song. And then I also love how Staircase kind of builds on that at the end. Like Staircase is a phenomenal closer. Um, is it his best work? No, but also he's done so many great works over the years. I'm just really glad that he kind of experimented and went outside of his scope for this one, and I definitely can see it. Number 33, we have Ice Cold Bishop with Generational Curse. I'm going to say it out of the way. His rap style isn't for everybody. He has a very high pitched, kind of grating, like rap style at times. But what is great for me is the story of this album. This is witnessing like how gangs or groups of people fight um, through and like how one little thing can cause something to happen. Like if I remember correctly, someone's brother of one of the gangs dies due to gun violence from another gang, and the whole entire album is them trying to get back at this other gang, and the give and take of this, and how this is a vicious cycle, and how this can cause so many problems in the end, and like the different characters that he does, the amazing flows that he does. It's a really interesting and engaging album. One of the better rap albums I heard all year last year. If you didn't check it out, give it a listen. Number 32, we have Catatonia with Sky Void of Stars. Um, yeah, this was another one of these late risers for me. I don't think this album starts great. I'm going to be honest. Austerity, Colossal Shade, Opaline, not my favorites, but everything else after that is phenomenal. And this is, I got not crushed, but I heard a lot of people on different channels talking about how their previous album was not great. City Burials. I personally really love that album. But apparently, this is the Catatonia that everyone loves. And I would love to check out more because, man, very engaging, very interesting darkness. Impermanence with Joel Ekaloff of Soen, one of my favorite songs of last year. No Beacon to Eliminate or Fall is a great closer. But like Bird, Strap Moon, Author, all these songs, like 4 through 10, phenomenal. Check it out. A great album from Catatonia. And number 31, we have Atavista with Cosmic Warfare. I love how this, as I'm doing this, I'm getting into more and more um, different genres of metal, because this is probably something I wouldn't have enjoyed a few years ago, but like the symphonic death metal, so good. So good. Um, 6 songs, um, but like they're all super engaging, super over the top. Cosmic Warfare, Ethereal Wanderer, Spectral Rebirth, and the last song, Forgotten Silence. All of them just are just hitting hard, and these are some great like just journeys going through this album. Definitely worth your time. All right, quick 20 more and we're out of here. We got number 30. We have Voyager with Fearless in Love. This one came out of nowhere. This is very progressive, but there's also this more like 80s synth tinge that makes this album so fun. Like the Prince of Fire, Ultraviolet, The Lamenting, um, Promise, great songs that like bridged progressive and synth and 80s synth to make it very accessible. It's a very accessible progressive, and I love it. I want to hear more from them. Number 29, we have Spirit Adrift with Ghost of the Gallows. This reminds me of certain albums that checked out 2 years ago. Um, I can't remember, but like this is just really solid, like mix of progressive and a little bit more straightforward metal. Um, you know, Give Her to the River, great song. Barn Burner, absolutely love it. Hangman's Revenge and Ghost of the Gallows, Siren of the South, just really great meat and potatoes, progressive with a little bit of heaviness to it. Love it, absolutely love it. Can't get enough of it. Number 28, we have The Ocean with Holocene. Uh, Last album of theirs for this prehistoric cycle. It's a little bit more pensive, a little bit more building at times. But man, like this got under my skin because at first I was like, I don't know if I like this, but like other than like the first two songs, the last the last six for me are just some great building of um, tension and release. Sea of Reeds, love that song. Atlantic, I love how it starts so slow, but as it goes, like the payoff is great. It's a 9 minute song, but it's like the payoff is so good. And then Unconformities, another really interesting like experiment. Karen Park is has an interesting voice. Feels a little bit like Adrian Lanker at times for metal, but like as this builds on and they talk about don't go past the white light or bright light, and like how it like builds and intensifies. It's a really incredible experience. And then Parabosis is one of the second to last song, really solid. Subatlantic doesn't necessarily stick the landing, but it's still a really good song. This is worth it. Like even though it's not as heavy as their last stuff, it's a great ending to this cycle. Number 27, we have Spanish love songs with No Joy. Not my favorite Spanish love songs album. It doesn't resonate as much as their last one, but like there's still some really, really great songs on here. Pendulum, Haunted, I'm Gonna Miss Everything, Re-emerging Signs of the Apocalypse. What I like about this one too is it's a little bit more, it's not as heavy, which could be a bad thing for some people, but for me, this gives them a little bit new color palette to work with, and the lyricism is still there. So you know, there's still a lot to love with this album, even if it's not like in your face about the warning signs of the apocalypse. Number 26, But Here We Are, Foo Fighters. Yeah, probably should have talked about this one a little bit earlier so we could get past the Dave Grohl stuff. I still really love it. Like, it's not my favorite Foo Fighters album, but it is a great return to form, and it is very, very emotional. With, of course, talking about Taylor Hawkins as well as Dave Grohl's mom passing away. Um, I didn't know what they would do with like a morning album, but like they still have their great sound and experimenting a little bit with some more touching tracks. I love The Glass. I love But Here We Are. Um, Rescued Under You and Hearing Voices feels a little bit more like Foo Fighters' first album, or even Color and Shape esque, or even their third album. Like that, like meat and potatoes, but like there's a lot of emotion in there. The Teacher, a 10-minute song that sticks the landing for me. Didn't know that they had them in there. And then like Rest, it's a little bit of a weird in there song, but it is still a very beautiful and pensive and understanding song. All right, top 25. We got 15 more. Number 25, we have Victoria Monet with Jaguar 2. Did not think I was going to like this one based on the cover, but wow, great R&B album. Great mix of R&B, classic and new. Some great songs on here. I love Stop Asking Me for Shit. So fun, so tongue in cheek. Hollywood, great song. Goodbye, favorite song on this album. Uh, so catchy. There's so many catchy songs on here, and I do remember more of the second half than the first half. But that doesn't mean that the first half is bad. It just shows that this is a very solid and very enjoyable album. Number 24, we have Desire, I Want to Turn Into You, um, from Caroline Polachek. I thought this was going to get a little bit higher, but that just shows how good a lot of this other uh, parts of this album, I mean, this list is. Um, Still a really beautiful and interesting pop-ish album. Um, Pretty Impossible. Bunny's Rider, so much fun. Sunset, this more like flamenco style. Fly to You, Grandandito is beautiful. Butterfly Net, um, Blood and Butter. It's pillowy, it's light, it's beautiful. A lot of people really enjoyed this, and I did too. Number 23, we have Group Therapy with I Was Mature for My Age. American Psycho just like starts this album off with a bang. And I love the interplay between all three people in the group. Um, there's a lot of fun songs. There's a lot of more poignant songs. That's My Check, How I'm Feeling. I do really love Still Alive at the end. Um, it has a little bit of that grittiness to it that I'm looking for, but also just a really solid hip hop album. Definitely. Apparently, there was a addendum to this album that I need to check out. But like, man, really great album. Number 22, my last of these like more hyper pop albums is Underscores with Wall Socket. Um, Man, very zany, but really fun. I think like this one does it well because it's not over the top with the hyper pop stuff, which makes it a lot of fun. Like Cops and Robbers at the beginning, so fun and stupid. Um, you Don't Even Know Who I Am is very like there's a lot of like darkness to this album in a tongue-in-cheek way, like Johnny Johnny Johnny. Mm, beautiful, great song. Um, but like you'll never hear the Johnny 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 like meme sound the same ever again. Like wow, dark, very dark. Shoot to Kill, Kill Your Darlings. Very beautiful and pensive song about like loving someone who is going into the army and like dealing with PTSD and stuff like that. Geez Louise, very fun. Good Luck Final Girl, very great way of ending this song, this album. Um, it has that touch of hyperpop without being overbearing with the hyperpop. I feel it takes the hyperpop and puts it into very enjoyable songs with very dark, very interesting lyrics. Um, Check this one out if you didn't, especially if you liked like 100 gecs, but never checked this one out. Worth it. Number 21, we have Celebrants by Nickel Creek. I didn't think I was going to put this as high, but as I kept listening to it more, I like really enjoyed what they did here. This is a more mature Nickel Creek and a more complex Nickel Creek, but that doesn't mean it's not any less enjoyable. Strangers is a great song. My One of my favorite songs of the year. Where the Long Line Leads is great. Stone's Throw, to the Airport. Failure Isn't Forever. There's still the what I love about Nickel Creek, just them turning it up a little bit, and it's not going to be for everybody. I get that it's going to be a little bit complex, but I like that they're back. I like that they did this, and like they tried a lot of experiments, and it worked. So hell yeah, more Nickel Creek, please. And finally, the last 10. Number 20, Aesop Rock with Integrated Tech Solutions. It's Aesop Rock. You know I love them. Like, still got it. Still got it after all these years. There's a really, really fun song. Pigeonometry. I also, man, what else do we got here? Time Moves Differently here. It is a little bit like even mindful solutionism, I will say, a lot of this is very follow conscious, and sometimes I just don't remember everything. But reading them now, I'm remembering them. Salt and Pepper Squid. It's fun. It's imaginative. There's so much colorfulness coming from his rapping, and the production is still great. It's another great Aesop Rock album. I want to check it out again. Probably one of my favorite rap albums of the year. The way that this is going, I think it might be my favorite rap album of the year. Yeah, so much fun. All right, number 19. Already kind of talked about it, but Sufjan Stevens with Javelin. Man, very, very beautiful. This is very reminiscent of Carrie and Lowell in terms of the heartbreak, the beauty of it. Sufjan Stevens lost his partner right before making this, and it shows. It shows in the powerfulness of the lyrics and the beauty of these songs. Goodbye Evergreen as a beginning song is very beautiful. A Running Start, Will Anybody Ever Love Me? Like, that is a very tender and very sad song. So You Are Tired, that's one of the most beautiful songs in the album, talking about going back to bed after a fight, right? And knowing that you can't have those moments with that person anymore. Shit Talk, wow, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. There's so much beauty, there's so much color. There's a reason why so many people really love this album, and me included. Incredible. If there's any indie album that you haven't listened to this year that you need to, or folk indie, check them out. Number 18, we have Lincoln with False Lincoln. Wow, this one was incredible to me. It has this old school, kind of folky side to this, with just some really eeriness to it. It's a little bit off at times, and that mix to me is phenomenal. Go Dig My Own Grave at the beginning, the way that builds and the way that churns, wow. Clear Away in the Morning, the New York Trader, like that one built so well. Lord of Boar and Mary Flynn. It has this old, really old school, more not medieval, but very folksy, but very much just a little bit off each time. And that's just an awesome mix for me. Check this one out. It's 70 minutes. It is long, but it the way that they mix these two worlds together is absolutely incredible. Number 17. Let's bring it out. Periphery 5 with Djent Is Not a Genre. Got to see them live too. And I know that people also kind of not shitting on this album, but looked at it a little bit down because they were like, oh, well, this is Periphery being too Periphery. As one of their song tracks says, everything is fine. I just really enjoy them going out of their way and trying something completely new. Yeah, is it over the top sometimes? Yes, of course. But they deserve that. They've been doing this for so long. They're allowed to experiment. Yeah, does it touch Hail Stand? No, not necessarily. But there's still some really great stuff on here. Dracul Gross about a fat Dracula is so much fun. Thanks Naboo is absolutely beautiful as a closer. I really enjoy Silhouette. It's a nice, perfect middle point where it's a little bit more electronic, and it's the cleanest and softest song on the album, but it's perfect for where it is on the album. Dying Star, phenomenal as well. Wax Wings, I absolutely love that song. Atropos builds so well. Wildfire is a little bit weird because it has all these moving parts, but hey, having a freaking jazz piano solo and saxophone solo, cool. They experimented. They did well. I enjoy almost every song on this album. Is it a little bit long? Yes, it's 70 minutes, but get used to it. It's a Periphery album. don't be swayed away. Yes, it might be a little bit too periphery, but still, it's really interesting, and I can't wait to see what they do with 6. Number 16, we have Helga with Wrapped in Mist. Love it. Love the pensitivity here. Um, I love the building here. There's a little bit of leprous kind of sound in some of the stuff. Not as heavy, but like the way that this album builds. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Just check this one out if you're interested in more of the more pensive side of metal. Number 15, we have Sampha with Lahai. Phenomenal. This could have easily been in my top 10. We're getting to that point right now. Um, what can I say? Like it's just there's so many beautiful R&B songs, and I love the production here. Suspended, one of my favorite songs, probably top 10 favorite song of 2023. And I just love how there's so much beauty and interesting, like soft arrangement to fit in with the R&B and hip hop of this. Like phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Check this one out. Number 14, we have 3D Country by Geese. This feels, this is like if you had Steely Dan or some of this yacht rock stuff, but with a little bit more tongue in cheekness to it, a little bit more grit to it. Absolutely love it. 3D Country, Cowboy Nudes, I See Myself, beautiful song. Crusades, great. Gravity Blues, great song. Just like overall, it's like that cheese that I need from like old school sound. Like it feels a little bit like King Gizzard, which makes a little bit of sense because they toured together. I wish I saw that concert. It was been so awesome. But here we are, number 14. Want to see more from them. Number 13. This was so close. All three of these were so close to my top 10. And at one point were in my top 10. But it is what it is. Number 13, The Love Still Held Me Near by City and Color. Wow. Like, there are some very incredible songs in here. And yes, it is a City and Color album. It is very similar in style at times. But man, I love so many of these songs. I did Underground on my Instagram in terms of a cover. I still want to do The Love Still Held Me Near. I love A Little Mercy. I love Without Warning. Beautiful song. Bow Down to Love might be one of my favorite City and Color songs, and one of his best vocals he's ever done. The Water Is Coming. Like, yes, it is a little bit long. It's almost an hour long, but like every one of these songs, for the most part, is just beautiful, really poignant lyrics. And Begin Again, like as a closer, is absolutely gorgeous. Love it. Great album. Check it out if you're a City and Color fan. It's much better than the Pill for Loneliness, in my opinion. Number 12, we have Hell Mode by Jeff Rosenstock. This one was so close. I think if I had listened to it earlier in the year, it would have made it. But like, it has that mix of punk and beauty that is so nice, and it's very personal. It's a very personal experience for Jeff Rosenstock. Liked You Better. So much fun. If you haven't seen the music video, check it out. Future is Dumb. Even Head, like the scattered shot lyrics of Head, like makes you understand where he is at. This is very much like a pandemic kind of mind kind of thing, as things kind of fall apart in his life and his relationships. But man, so good. I Want to Be Wrong, Three Summers, Graveyard Song. All of it is beautiful. Heal Mode, like a beautiful mix song in there, like a nice uh, reprieve song. It's not long. It's what 41 minutes, but like for a punk rock album, best punk rock album of the year, in my opinion. So close to being in the top 10. And the last one before the top 10 is Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit with Weather Vanes. Another long album for sure, but some of the best work from Jason Isbell, and I know that like there's been a lot of heat on him throughout the year, um, but I'm just going with what was here. Uh, so many poignant songs, starting off with "Death Wish," "King of Oklahoma" about like stagnation in a marriage. "Middle of the Morning" is beautiful. "Save the World" about gun violence and feeling like you can't do much about it. "Cast Iron Skillet," such a poignant album about a song about childhood. Um, like as this album goes on, there's only like a couple of songs in here that I'm like, I don't really care that much about. Um, man, like this Americana country, if you were looking for something with a little bit more heft to it throughout the year, that would make you tear up a little bit. This is definitely it, and this was so close to being the top 10, but it wasn't, and that means that you have to come back and check out the videos that I'm going to be putting up either later today or tomorrow to check out all of my picks and my brother's picks of the top 10 albums of 2023. And I will be starting to do some stuff on 2024 shortly. I have some stuff, more albums to listen to. I have to get into my next semester and everything. But I wish you a happy new year, and I will be back soon with some videos.